us for the July Isicsb board meeting. Holly, will you please call roll?
Luke Erpelding,
Present, representing communication centers.
Amy Benson,
Mindy Benson, present. Blackhawk County Emergency Management, representing Iowa Emergency Management.
Curtis Welton,
Present, representing EMS.
Michelle Bischoff,
Present, representing fire.
Michael Colby,
Present, Clear Lake PD, representing local police departments.
Jeff Vandewater,
Present, representing sheriff's offices.
Patrick Updike,
Present, member at large.
and do we have any legislative members on the line?
Mike Vondren, representing District 94.
We do have a quorum.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Representative Bondren, for joining us today. Appreciate the time. For welcoming remarks, I'd like to give Chief Colby the opportunity to introduce himself. He is our newest member and recently approved by the governor's office.
Thank you. Mike Colby with Clear Lake Police Department. Been chief there for a little over 2 years. Been in Clear Lake almost 9 years. So before that, spent 15 and a half years at Clyde PD. And then also before that, worked at Westcom, Dallas County for a short time, and Urbandale PD dispatching too. So I got background on both sides of the radio there. The dispatching was many, many years ago, 26 years ago. So happy to be here to contribute, going to sit back and kind of listen and learn, and hope to be value added to the board in there. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve today's agenda as presented.
Benson moves.
Second?
Vandewater, second.
I have a motion and a second for approval of today's agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of the meeting minutes from June 12th. I'll entertain a motion.
A motion.
And a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the approval of the meeting minutes from June 12th, 2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I'll abstain since I was not present.
Very well, thank you. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to the SWIC report. Nichols.
Thank you, Chair Bishop. Good morning, everyone. I am looking for agencies willing to allow video recording. I've reached out to a couple. This will be used in training materials and promotional materials. Please reach out to me if you're willing to allow me to come in and capture some video. Fire departments, police departments, I'll take anything. I would also welcome any information on coordinated incidents. I don't always see or hear about those events, so I welcome emails or texts about interoperability incidents so I can touch base with our partners. Also, the RIC committees would be a great place to share the experiences of these events with our neighbors and colleagues, discuss best practice at that local level. For everybody's information, the COM-L has been rescheduled. That was initially scheduled in April. Now it's going to be held September 22nd through the 25th, 4 days in September in Council Bluffs. I will be reaching out. There were originally 15 registrants and giving them the opportunity to have their seats back. There would be up to 15 more open seats. This course will be taught by a CISA instructor who will also be observing Iowa COM-Ls working toward their COM-L instructor credentials. So the hope is the course will create not only new COM-Ls in the state, but at least one new state-sponsored state Iowa COM-L instructor. For an update on our IMED, funding has not been released since the pause beginning in February, and the process to return unpaid for equipment has begun. At this time, we do not have the funds to deliver the Wave server on the system, which would allow that capacity for the LTE over LMR portion of the project. We are currently exploring every possible option to mitigate the impact of the potential loss of federal funding. This includes identifying alternative funding sources or prioritizing resources and advocating for continued support where possible. We can continue to work with the EMS and hospitals to improve and increase interoperable communications via radio for EMS communications plan with the talk groups that we do have available. Our team is also able to provide training with tabletops or functional exercises. That's all I have unless there's any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Swick Nichols? 911 Council Report, Program Manager Darushi.
Thank you. Just a few updates for you today. I did a little bit of a deep dive and went down a rabbit hole on the topic of 911 transfers. The FCC has done a number of things over the last few patient accuracy. The state of Iowa implementing geospatial routing. So I compared transfer reports from 2018 compared to 2025. And in that time, in general, there's been a 12% increase of wireless 911 calls in general, but the number of transfers has gone down dramatically by about 4% over the. So those things that both the state of Iowa as well as the FCC have put into place for better call routing have definitely worked in the state, and I think that's a success story that's worth sharing. An additional item that we talked through today was we have started to receive signatures and agreements on having telecommunicator emergency response team capability in the state. So our department is able to raise, train, and fund emergency response teams. So in the past, those have been more along the lines of urban search and rescue, hazmat, incident management teams. But over the last 2 or 3 years, there's been an increased desire for telecommunicator emergency response. In fact, we saw one last year in Clay County. There was requests out of North Carolina to support that as well. At the time, we didn't really have the right type of agreement with folks to be able to pay them their salary, their benefits, and any travel costs. So over the last 12 months, we kind of worked with a core group of folks to put that in place, to make them deployable, to make them reimbursable. And one thing I do want to point out is that's not reimbursed through 911 surcharge. That is through the Executive Council and the Economic Emergency Fund. So all those things are in place prior to a request for that particular resource. So if you are interested in having folks volunteer for that, you can get in touch with me, get in touch with Brian Sellner at Westcom. He's the team lead, and we can talk through what that might look like. All of those folks have obviously been vetted and trained, but we do have a core group of folks that are now deployable should that resource be needed in state or out of state. And obviously that's optional. So if for whatever reason you're not able to support a deployment when a request comes up, that is absolutely fine. We can't require you to do that. So just making that resource known to folks. You would obviously go through your local emergency management channels to request that should you need that. That really is about the extent of the report today. If you have any questions or want to go a little bit more in depth with 911, the council does meet just before the Isicsb board, and we do post that on our YouTube channel so you can rewatch the council meeting if any other topics might pique your interest. I would take any questions at this time.
Great. Are there any questions for Program Manager Darushi? Great. Thank you, Blake.
Thanks.
That brings us to the user group. Chair Vandewater.
So the users group, we met on June 19th. We had 6 members present, 2 representatives on behalf of the applicants. We reviewed, approved 2 applications that'll appear later on the agenda in new business. Little discussion and no concerns expressed. That concludes my report.
Great. That brings us to the user group. Chair Vandewater. So the user group, we met on June 19th. We had 6 members present, 2 representatives on behalf of the applicants. We reviewed, approved 2 applications that'll appear later in on the agenda in new business. Little discussion and no concerns expressed. That concludes my report. Great. Thank you, Sheriff. Are there any questions for the user group committee? That brings us to the finance committee. Finance committee did meet this week and reviewed expenditures for the last month. And those are before you. All items are in order and in line with what previous expenses were. I'll draw your attention to a couple line items. I'll start with what's visible. The $192, that is to pay for GoToMeeting. That is in the process of being canceled. So we'll see a credit for that in time. The next line item, kind of working our way up, is to the $998.34. That is the in-state travel, I believe. That's the stickers. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the stickers. My mistake. Those are for the promotional items. The stickers and the memo cards or memo books that were purchased and board approved a few months back. And then Holly, can you scroll up? The $1303.50 is the in-state travel. And you'll notice that that is higher than normal. That last month we approved the expenditure of Colonel Hedgepeth's. He facilitated a class and we needed to reimburse him for the expenses. It was away from his home. So we reimbursed that, and that's why that number is higher than normal. Are there any questions about the financial statement for June? Great. That brings us to the Governance Committee and Chair Colby.
Thank you. We met on Monday, the 7th. We discussed the retirement of policy 2015-01.E. It was a light meeting, and that retirement of that policy is later on in the agenda. So that's really all we have to report after discussing that on Monday's meeting. Questions on that?
Very well. Are there any questions for the Governance Committee? Great, thank you, Chief. That brings us to the Operations Committee. Chair Erpelding.
Thank you. Operations Committee met on Wednesday, July 2nd, with 5 of us being present. We had no old business, but we started new business on 2 standards. Those were 1.6.0, top group, multi-group, and agency group ownership, and the emergency management top group standard 1.15.0. A lot of us were traveling on this day. We did have a lot of voice communication, but we're limited to actual screen time. So we did do some minor language changes, and the SWIC prepared those documents and has resent them to the group to be reviewed. And we are going to follow up on all these on old business at our next meeting. And in addition, 1.6.0 was sent to the system admins for review as well. That's all I have, unless Vic has anything to add to that report.
That's what I've got.
Do my report and then questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the Operations Committee?
Thank you.
That brings us to Training and Outreach Committee. Chair Wooten.
Thank you, Chair. Last meeting, we continued the audible alert tone training module discussion. Clear Lake has mentioned they would do some of the videoing for us. After that, we completed the position task books updates, which is up for approval later on in the agenda. That's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for the Training and Outreach Committee? Great, thank you, Curtis. That brings us to the Technology Committee. Chair Updike.
Good morning. The Technology Committee met on June 6th and July 3rd. We've been reviewing some policies and standards. The first standard that we've been working on is 2.12.1, and that relates to system security groups. really no big changes other than we added just a few words into that document. It's not a huge impact statement. And so that standard is going to go back into the pool and consider it reviewed. The next thing that we reviewed is policy 2015-3. This policy is just getting a reformat, adding some words to the beginning of this, and we're going to take additional time to review this and continue to work on it and bring it back later on. Standard 3.6.0, we did add a purpose statement to the beginning. And one thing, and I don't know if you've got that document there that we can look at, but we have changed some wording in there that takes the responsibility kind of, if you will, away from the Isicsb board to make the decision and put it onto the system administrators to make those decisions, because typically that's who people are going to go through first when it comes to some of the issues that surround this policy. Haley, I don't know, do you want to add anything, add to that?
No, but I do have those. If anyone has any questions, I can clarify or read anything out. That sentence that you're talking about is under infrastructure configuration, and it says, currently the use of critical user and critical site in the system is generally discouraged and must be authorized by the board. And what the technology committee would like it to say must be authorized by Isicsb system administrator. The understanding is that it just doesn't happen and wouldn't be really authorized.
And it couldn't be timely.
Yeah, by shifting that to the system administrator, you know, you don't have all these huge time delays for the board to try to make those decisions. So we're going to continue to review this and change that wording and then bring it back. So I don't know if it's going to need a 30-day comment period or just board approval, but I'm guessing more than likely it'll go up for 30-day comment. I'm kind of just curious what the board thinks overall of that.
I have no objections to a 30-day comment period, allowing the public to provide input. It's always a good thing.
Yeah, okay. So the last thing that we've been working on, and Holly, if you can pull up the ICS 217A. And so if you scroll down to our 700 meg frequencies, those conventional resources there, you can see some of the work that we've done in the past is you've got a talk group ID that's used for statewide use, and then we developed talk groups that would assist the 99 counties if they wanted to create their own talk groups on these conventional resources. It was brought up in one of the meetings that we should probably start looking at developing talk groups for state agencies and federal agencies. And so the plan going forward is to develop those codes, those hex codes, outside of using the C pound, and come up with a different set of hex codes that will be designated for state use and designated for federal use. So once those get developed, we'll push that information out, update the ICS 217A, and then those people, it would not be mandatory that you have to program these in. It's just another tool in the toolbox for those other entities to have at their disposal. So be watching for that to come, and we'll keep you updated. And that's all I have for right now.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for the Technology Committee? Okay, thank you, Patrick.
Thanks.
That brings us to the FirstNet Broadband Committee. Chair Benson.
Good morning. Thank you. We met this week on Tuesday, July 8th. During that meeting, we did not hold our normal monthly meeting. We actually had the FirstNet coverage workshop that was hosted by AT&T and our FirstNet partners. So during that meeting, they did talk about several items, and that will be briefed out by the FirstNet Authority and our FirstNet partners a little later on in this meeting. But if you do happen to want to join our committee meeting or committee meetings, please let myself or Holly know. We'll get you added to that email network. And I can take any questions. I can't necessarily answer anything about the authority reported out on. That would be proprietary to them. But I can try to answer anything about the committee that I can. And I can answer any questions at this time.
Great. Does anyone have any questions regarding the FirstNet Broadband Subcommittee? Thank you, Mindy. That brings us to other reports and information sharing for board members. Do any board members have anything that they would like to share with the rest of the board? I have one item. Based on last month, us passing the committee and membership standard, it's 2025_01.G. We do need to formalize the membership within our committees. There is a form that members need to fill out and apply to the committee. Even if they've done it in the past, we're starting afresh. We have a new policy that applies to everyone. So please fill out that application if you are a member of a committee or would like to be a member of a committee. Prior to our November meeting, from November to December, we'll review those applications and get everyone notified of their committee placements. And then we'll start with full rosters, or as full as we can, in January. So if chairs would please work with your committees to ensure that that message gets out. And if there's any members on this call or people on this call that would like to become members, that form is on the website. And Holly, if you could please put a link in the minutes to this item to that form, that would be much appreciated. The form, it's also in the policy, the link to the form. Any questions regarding what we're doing there? We're just trying to follow our own policy in short. Any other items to be shared amongst the board? All right, Isicsb System Admin Report. Scott Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. I'll begin with maintenance update. Generator and HVAC maintenance is roughly 1/3 complete for this year. More sites will be scheduled and will impact the daily operations. Annual RF maintenance also continues. 3 sites were scheduled this week: Fort Dodge, Harcourt, and Lehigh, with 5 additional sites scheduled for later this month. That notice was sent out yesterday to the affected areas. And foundation work on the replacement tower for the Adair South site is beginning next week, weather pending. And as you recall, this is a replacement tower to the tornado damaged tower from 2024. And beyond that, I've got numbers for you for June of 25. Our radios stand at 46,365. Thought groups are currently at 3,621, and we had just over 3.1 million push to talks on the system in June. And with that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our sysadmins? Thank you, Scott. That brings us to the FirstNet Authority. Tom Lampy.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, so as Chair Benson stated, we did, the authority hosts conducting these coverage workshops all over all of our 56 states and territories. With Iowa being one of them, we conducted on Tuesday, I'm sorry, during their meeting. We invite AT&T to show the progress, because they're our partner who's building the network, to show the progress in Iowa, which they did. The goal of the workshop is we shared information on not only the status of what AT&T has done in Iowa, but what we have seen through our data that we have gathered, where we need to see and where you would like to see the network enhanced as far as coverage. So we gather data from crowdsource, from you. We put these, what I describe as a weird looking polygon on the map that the group could see that was in tenants that we called areas of interest. And we take those areas of interest, show them to you, and see, does it match what you think where we could use some enhancement in Iowa? And just as a reminder, our job as the authority is to work with you and take the reinvestment dollars that we receive back into that network in Iowa and all the states. So we need that information, and that's why we do this coverage workshop. Is the network's built, we continue to improve it, and we're always going to continue to improve it, knowing that coverage is king, and if you don't have coverage, you don't have a network. And we totally understand that, and that's why it's so unique that the way we are funded through the use of the spectrum that is unused at the time from AT&T, we throw that money right back as required by the Congress by law, right back into the network for satellite coverage, to keep the technology up, and to install macro sites where we need coverage. So we need the information from the boots on the ground to know how this network is performing in Iowa, what you want to see differently, where you think you need sites. So after the meeting, and I just sent it out yesterday, we send out a survey tool, and we send that out to all the people that signed up for the meeting, and I can certainly expand that list. Take some time, and I've already got 3 entries that people that were attending the meeting to show where they feel, based off what we talked about at the meeting, where this coverage is needed to reiterate. So when you submit that survey, which takes literally 5 minutes, it goes into our database, and the same map that was shown that day, it shows the polygon that you drew where you feel coverage is needed. So it's a really good visual, a real good tool to give us that data so we can decide. And then you can decide it for Iowa, what are those priorities? If you look at all those polygons that were drawn and all the input that we have from stakeholders in Iowa, which of those do you want me to tell our people where to spend those dollars in Iowa? Where's the most important areas that you need for sure, no doubt, we need coverage there. And that's the purpose of these workshops and that survey tool. So if you see that link from me for the survey, it's called Survey 123. Please fill it out. It's very important for Iowa and the health of this network and the strength of this network as it gets stronger and stronger. Doesn't matter what carrier you're on, you're going to have holes. We're trying to fill those as best we can. That's the big advantage of having the authority over this contract, is to take that input directly from you, not just a business model that normally you won't get because it doesn't make the cellular company any dollars. That's not what we're about. We're taking the investment dollars and listening to you and putting those dollars where you need it for public safety. So I'll be traveling around Iowa as well as a kickoff of this meeting to different regions. I've worked with Haley on that. I've talked to her about it, and to help assist with that tool so you get the best picture we can for the state. And I'll continue with the 4 other states I have to work with too. But I'm going to get that done, and so it'll be a lot of work, but we're going to get it done, get the best picture for Iowa. So please take a minute, fill that survey out, and get that information so we can get it into the map. So that's all I have. I'll take any questions about that if you have any, or anything else for that matter.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions for the FirstNet Authority? I would ask that the link that Tom is referring to be in the minutes so that there's yet another resource for people to participate in that process.
I can put it in the chat if you'd like.
That would be great
Copy
too,
it.
Tom. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, you bet.
That brings us to the AT&T update. Bart Blank.
Good morning, everybody. Just three quick topics today. First of all, the update on our network modernization we continue to do. I won't go through all the sites. It's really picking up now, through the summer. But since our last meeting, there have been 26 sites across Iowa updated with the 5G C-band spectrum and with the Ericsson equipment. If anybody ever wants to reach out and have a talk about the network in their area and what's going on, glad to do that. Secondly is new product announcement. Some of you may be familiar about a unique product that is to FirstNet. It's the high performance user equipment. The FirstNet Authority allowed us to amplify that band 14 to 1.25 watts. And the previous form factor was always a router based system with a external antenna. So it was like, like a vehicle type kit or like a large suitcase that all that stuff fit into that you could take on site. Launching next week on the 16th, Sonam has come out with a MiFi puck format that has the same technology as the other routers in the high performance user equipment. That's going to be priced at $99 for the 2-year agreement with NASPO. And I'll get some documentation over to Holly that she can forward out. So if anybody wants to take a look at it, you can. It's also available. You can find it on firstnet.com already too, under the high performance user equipment if you want to take a look. But it's nice because it's far more portable than the other previous solutions. And lastly, we've completed our RAGBRAI assessment that's coming up here soon. All the towers along night stops and any other additional requests we've had. Please reach out if you are in those counties or have questions about what's going to go on. That's coming up soon. Reach out. I'm glad to answer any questions or see how we can help you out, but everything should be in place to make sure the network is what we call high capped for all of our FirstNet users. That's all I have. If there's any questions.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Bart. Are there any questions for AT&T? That brings us to our CISA update. Chris Myers.
Good morning, and thank you, Chair Bischoff. Appreciate the time, as always, to speak to the board. We're going to start off this month. There's been a lot of discussion recently around activity that may eventually spill back over into the U.S. A lot of this is going to be focused around state-sponsored and also hacktivist groups that would be looking to conduct malicious cyber activity against our communications and other infrastructure assets in this country. There's actually a DHS NTAS bulletin that came out in late June, followed by a joint fact sheet that was sealed by multiple different agencies that kind of covers multiple different parts of things to look out for. The big thing here is maintaining vigilance on your systems, understand what normal looks like, and understand when you have a deviation from that normal. A lot of times, the things that will be targeted by these state-sponsored cyber actors or hacktivist groups are things that are relatively low-hanging fruit. Big thing here will be outdated software or software that hasn't been patched recently. Also, common passwords or default passwords on internet-connected devices. The fact sheet has a lot of things you can do to mitigate some of those things specifically. A lot of it gets down to basic cyber hygiene with latest updates applied to systems and software, unique passwords, and also making sure that you have phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication for some of your OT networks. Both of those documents are posted on shortened URLs at the bottom of the slide. The URL where those things live is actually fairly lengthy, so we did shorten them here. You can go to those websites there that are DHS housed, and you'll be able to get both documents and apply them to anything you may need to. Next page is an updated lifecycle planning guide and updated lifecycle planning tool for communications. The updated lifecycle planning guide is an update to the previously released 2018 version. This gets down into the ideas behind building, maintaining systems, and it gets into all stages, whether it's pre-planning, implementation, support and maintenance, end of life cycle, disposition, you name it, it's all in there. This also comes with a lifecycle planning tool that complements the planning guide. You can find both of these at cisa.gov/savecom/funding. And scroll down and look underneath Sustaining Public Safety Communication Systems, and both those documents are right there. These are freshly released as well. These were joint projects with SAFECOM and NICSWIC, so they are stakeholder derived and designed for use by stakeholders. Next page, regional news of note. We do have some scheduled technical assistance still coming to Kansas City in preparations for FIFA. We have an incident communications manager course coming up July 21st to the 23rd. We have a communications exercise as well scheduled for the 26th to the 27th. Of note, that is open regionally. So even if you're not based in the Kansas City metro, you can still sign up and apply. If you've got a task book you need to get done, you'll be able to do so there. We are going to be credentialing ComLs, ComTs, tactical dispatchers, incident communications managers, and ITSLs. It's a 2-day exercise. It's designed to be the same exercise both days. So we're going to cycle new players in each day. So there's several opportunities and plenty of seats available for those trainees. We also have an exercise coming up August 18th through the 20th in Cape Girardeau. For those that are interested, that is a bit of a further drive, but it is on a different set of date. That's 18 August through the 20th. We have a TICP Train the Trainer course coming up as well for Missouri on August 6th. That is going to be something where we showcase for state personnel and regional personnel how to walk through a TICP, update it, what information is relevant, what information may not be, and figuring out what is the best fit for the state. Then lastly, we have the big Red River Commune Boot Camp coming up in October. That's going to be an opportunity for new instructors to get their teaching credentials taken care of in addition to taking courses. That is my update for the month, Chair Bischoff. I can go ahead and take any questions.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions regarding the information from CISA? Thank you. That brings us to old business, of which there is none. Moving on to new business. New Isicsb user approval. Chair Vandewater.
So again, we met on June 19th. We reviewed Clark County Sheriff's Office's application, which is an updated application to a level 4. Little discussion. No one was opposed to the application. Therefore, I would make a recommendation to the board that we approve Clark County SO's updated application.
We'll take that as a motion to approve the Clark County Sheriff's Office update to level 4. Is there a second?
Benson will second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the Clark County Sheriff's Office update as presented, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sioux City Community School
Second
District Level 2. Go ahead, Chair Vandewater.
My apologies.
No,
Yes,
you're good.
Sioux City Community School District, their application was reviewed. Again, little discussion. There was some, and I believe Wendy Hess said she would be working with the school as they're rolling out their new system. So there was no one opposed, no members were opposed, and therefore I would make a motion that the board approve the Sioux City Community School District to a level 2 so that they could gain access to the Isicsb system.
Great, thank you for the motion. We will entertain a second.
Copeland will second.
We have a motion and a second for the Sioux City Community School District to be approved at a level 2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Chair.
Yep.
Adopt Iowa All Hazards Communications Unit and Credential Procedure. Nichols.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So Chair Wooten talked about this a little bit. The subcommittee, the commune subcommittee has worked on this, the training committee has worked on this. It should be reviewed every 3 years per our policy, and it has been. A couple of changes that have been implemented are we've renamed the Communications Unit Credentialing Committee and included subcommittee instead. Per our policy, the position task books must be completed within 36 months after it's initiated. This initially was open-ended. There was no limit to how long you could work on a task book. The training committee determined 3 years is the national standard that many states do implement in their procedures, and so that makes sense to them, and they would like to implement that as the standard in Iowa. We added the credentialing committee members as designated in the newly adopted policy 25-01.g as specified, and deleted Appendix B, which is now part of the online submission. So there's a job form to submit these PTBs, which will be really handy. And then we just included some language about how to upload the documents online. So those are the changes that have been implemented. I think you've got it in your documents, and we'll upload it online.
You need board action to adopt that because there were significant enough changes.
Yeah, the language in that document says we do need board action.
Very well.
Well,
So-
motion.
Great. I have a motion. You're all good. I have a motion by Wooten to adopt the Iowa All Hazard Communications Unit and Credential Procedure. Is there a second?
We'll second.
Great. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to the retire Isicsb policy 2015-01.g. Quick Nichols.
Yeah, if you'll remember, we've discussed this. This is the policy that discussed the layout of the user group committee. We've since laid out all of our committees, and the beginning of this policy is completed and implements the system, which is done in, it has been decided that there's really no reason to have this policy in place any longer. It will be archived. It doesn't do anything for the board. So the language that's stated there explained the retirement of it, and it will just be held in Isicsb records on our server and in paper records, but it won't be found on the web.
Are there any questions regarding this item? With that, I would entertain a motion to retire Isicsb policy 2015-01.g.
Motion.
And a second?
Legal second.
I have a motion and a second to retire the policy as stated. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to the to issuing some credentials for the INTD. Those individuals that have earned that, if you are listed, please come forward. We will be awarding Shane Andrews and Zachary Mann.
Yeah, so Shane Andrews has completed his INTD and been credentialed. We'll have to take a picture. Shane, turn around.
Turn around.
Stand in the middle there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for your hard work on that. Zach's turn. Both Zach and Shane are from Marshall County Communications Center. Congratulations, Zach. There you go. Thanks.
Great, if we could give them both a round of applause. Great, thank you very much, and thank you to your organization for supporting you. That brings us to public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to comment to the board? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
We'll do a motion on that one.
Second,
Everybody will
Benson
second?
will second.
all those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Please hit adjourn. Thank you very much.